Hi, I'm Tom Monahan, President and CEO of DeVry University, and I'm delighted to be here today. I am relatively new to the education sector, having stepped into this role at DeVry about 6 months ago, but today I feel I'm on familiar terrain because I've spent most of my career in and around digital and information-based businesses. And this is our first Digital Dialogues conversation. I'm really excited today because I'm going to be speaking with Wilbur You, who is a Keller alumnus and founder and CEO of Youtech. His story is fascinating and highly relevant to those of us trying to map out the future of work in the digital economy. Wilbur moved to the United States when he was a child. He's had the question of whether entrepreneurs are born or made, I think, is answered in Wilbur's story because he was already launching businesses before he was 18 years old. He's had tremendous success with his notable digital marketing agency, which this year earned him a spot on the Forbes 30 Under 30. I'll start this off by asking some questions, but we're hoping folks who are joining us will lob in some questions. We will take them in through the chat, and we'll try to get as many as we can before the Q&A, before we call time at the end after some Q&A. Wilbur, welcome and thank you. So excited to have you.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Appreciate your making time. One thing all great entrepreneurs seem to have in common, Wilbur, is they're always refining their elevator pitch. You know, what their company stands for, what it's about, what impact it has. I'd love to, as of right now, what's the elevator pitch, and what's how are you describing Youtech to clients and people you're recruiting?
Really, it's really simple. We're a full service marketing and development agency, but we integrate both technology and marketing together. In today's landscape, it's moving very, very quickly, and things are always changing. Algorithms are changing, platforms are changing. So we're able to kind of go in and help businesses, both large and small, across the world with those changes and really optimize for leads or conversions or new customers. And so we really help them as a full service type agency.
So I started by mentioning that you were kind of a born entrepreneur, but what was the insight that led you to start Youtech? Where did you say, hey, the market's falling down, or I know there's dissatisfaction? What was, take me that moment where on a napkin you sketched out this opportunity?
Well, truth be told, I started a company that failed miserably before Youtech, and it taught me, it wasn't all bad. It taught me everything not to do in business, right? And so I think that was very valuable. And then I decided to go work for a company in Chicago. They were a condominium developer at the time. They were pretty big. And at that time, I was brought in as a marketing coordinator. I helped out with their websites and any of the marketing things they needed. But every change that I needed to make to a website, I had to email a vendor, and then they would charge an invoice back $500 or $1,000 for a picture change on a website. And I was like, well, that takes about like 2 seconds. The website wasn't great. It was slow. It wasn't working well on all the different devices. So I convinced the owner to let me rebuild it, right? Let me rebuild it. Let me rebuild the website so that it works for all platforms. And it'll save you the cost where you don't get $1,000 invoices anymore just for a picture change that takes 30 seconds. And so at that point, I feel like I had something. And I decided to leave that company. And then as soon as I left, I got a call probably 2 days later from the owner, and he became my first client.
Right. That's right. So I have to go back and ask, what's one lesson you carried away from the prior company that you say, this one hurt, I'm never going to forget it?
I think from my point of view, when I was looking at how they were doing marketing at that time, this was still in 2008, 2009 time, and they were still trying to kind of get up to speed as far as everything that was going on when it came to technology and marketing. And from my point of view, it needed to start shifting to digital, because a lot of it was newspapers, a lot of it was radio, and you were spending all kinds of money to do it. And I felt as though, Facebook was becoming popular and Google was becoming very, very popular and powerful. I felt as though they would have got more through that platform, in which they did. And so we were able to target specific people within that platform.
As you look forward, and this is going to be relevant to people as they're charting their own course and deciding what skills and opportunities they want to gather and pursue, et cetera. What do you look and say, in 5 years, you know, the business is going to be different in these ways. You talked about the evolution from old school marketing to digital marketing. You talked about the integration of technology and marketing activity becoming one rather than two separate disciplines. Where's the world going next, do you think?
I think the world is moving more towards a fast-paced and agile environment. And what I mean by that is, in today's world, you have Facebook, you have Google, you have, Snapchat, you have TikTok, you have all these different mediums online to grab people's attention. But a big sticking point in today's world is privacy and data, right? And everyone's talking about it, and there's so many rule changes and all of that. But at the end of the day, what's happening is the more people rely on the internet and the more people that use these different platforms, it doesn't matter if it's a social media platform or if it's Uber, whatever it is, if you have a smartphone, you're using it, there's data points in that you can't get from someone watching a Super Bowl commercial. And so from that point of view, I think that's where everything is moving towards. But I think everything is going to be connected. And I think, the cost of marketing is giving smaller businesses the ability to get in front of people that they ultimately want without having to have Super Bowl ad commercial size budgets.
Great. That's exciting. Maybe one more question about the great news is you're growing quickly. The hard thing there is you have to hire people. I mean, it's not hard. It's good. It's great to be in a position where you're creating opportunity for people. But as you build the company, what are the things you tend to look for when you're interviewing somebody or thinking about the next person you're adding to the culture and how you're creating a distinctive company and what talent you need to make that happen?
I think this is one of the most important things to any business is who you bring in to the company. And I think, one of the things that we always look for is people with a great personality, people that, have integrity, honesty, and loyalty, and people that are hard workers at the end of the day. It's not really, who has the most impressive resume when it comes to like, what school did you go to? Did you graduate from an Ivy League school? Do you have a 4.0 GPA? We don't even look at the GPA, to be completely honest with you. We ask them a series of specific questions. We get to know who they are as a person. We want to know, if that person is someone that we can actually have a real conversation with, or, grab a drink with, or, whatever it is to make sure that they fit within our culture. And, obviously school helps as well, right? You obviously want to be able to show that you have a degree or a diploma of some sort based on what you're ultimately trying to get into. But at the same time, it's not the most important requirement for us.
Right. Maybe I'll use that as a jumping off point for, there's a lot of commentary. Elon Musk came out a few weeks ago and said, MBAs are ruining business, and other notable technology people, Peter Thiel, have come out and said, people shouldn't go to college. They should just go start their business. You're obviously an exception to that rule. You not only went to college, you got an MBA, and you're still an entrepreneur. And you were an entrepreneur even before you stepped into these educational experiences. Talk a little bit about what, even with that entrepreneurial fire, what made you, not just jump right into entrepreneurship, but also and what you learned that's been relevant as you've ported those lessons from the classroom over into building a business.
Well, I think that the thing is that the statement of people don't need to go to college or don't need a degree or an MBA is so far extreme. I don't think it's something that should be said. And the reason why I say that is everyone is different. But for me and my perspective, I think that the reason why I took education very seriously, the reason why I went and got an MBA is because the more that I'm able to learn, the more that I'm able to learn how to learn helps me in the long run. And so at the end of the day, I can lose my business, I can lose my car, I can lose my house, I can lose everything in the world. People can take everything away from me. What they can't take away from me is what I know in my head and what I've learned. And so for that reason, I do think that getting a higher education is very helpful. And I think it gives you the ability to learn to work with others, to learn and adapt within different platforms that they're teaching. And it creates structure for you. You gotta be on time to go to class. You have a homework assignment that needs to be done. It's not so much different than in the real world. You have deadlines, you have bills to pay, you have things that are required. And I think all of that encompassing really helps you and develops the person.
That's great. Tell me a little bit about, let's go all the way back to your family story. And my guess is some of that ethos came from your family and what folks around you told you to value, et cetera. But tell me, go back to before even university, kind of your family story and how you got to where you are.
Well, my family, my family is Chinese, so they really focus a lot on education, right? And that's kind of the stereotype, but it's ingrained within the culture. And so studies come first, and it helped seeing it in action because my grandpa came here and he was a nuclear physicist, and so he was a professor at the Harvard of China. And he came here, he was invited here by President Nixon. He was one of 13 during the Cold War. And, he has a published book in the US Congress Library. I mean, he's the smartest man that I've ever met. And, and then my mom came here and then she started working at Baskin Robbins for $5.50 an hour. She didn't know English at all. And she decided to put herself through school and she got her degree and she got her CPA and then she got her MBA, actually from Keller as well. So that's part of the reason why I came. But, she showed me what it took and the hard work it took to get to ultimately where you want to go.
And you started the company while you were still in school, right? Or you were?
I did. I started it my senior year of college. So I was commuting back and forth, and truthfully, I did school Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday and Thursday I would work on the company, and then sometimes I skipped a day here and there. But at the end of the day, yeah, I finished on time, and I was kind of doing both at the same time.
And that's going to be an insane time management challenge. There's just no, I mean, most people can't do one of those things at the same time. You're able to do both. What disciplines served you well, or what are kind of time management tips or hacks that you say, one thing I learned to do was this, and that served me well?
It's just really knowing what you want and kind of focusing in on it. And my personality, whether it's a flaw or a positive, is really, if I want something done, I'm going to do everything I can, and I'm going to pour 100% into it. And so from, growing up, I wasn't the best at school, right? I wasn't the greatest, the smartest kid in school, but I never turned in a homework assignment late. I made sure I never missed a homework assignment. I made sure that they were structured because my mom, that's, what was instilled into me when I was younger, right? So I always knew that I needed to finish school. That was number one priority. But when it comes to business, it was more of a natural type thing where, if someone called me and they needed something, I would do whatever I could in between classes or whatever it was to try and get it done. And I really balanced it. It was a lot of work, but at the same time, I think just because I wanted it so badly, I was willing to do anything and work 24/7 to get it done.
At DVU, we think of our employer partners to some degree as every bit as important as our students. We want our students to be successful, but one of the ways we really want them to be successful is giving them an education that's super relevant to the people who are hiring from us. What advice would you have for me in thinking about the types of people you want to hire, the skills you want them to have, the programs you hope they'll have? What would you, if you were to sort of give me advice about what you'd like to see DeVry or any education institution focus on to help its students be incredibly successful going forward, where would you direct us?
I think one of the areas that we're always looking for that is super hard to find is people that have technical abilities into managing a Facebook or a Google in those platforms. It's, when you go to school and you go to school for marketing, it's very broad. It's marketing, it's advertising, and it's so old fashioned where, okay, well, this is how you advertise. This is what you want your brand to look like. This is, what advertising means. But we need people that can actually do the technical side of things where, going to school and learning and having a class on how to set up a Facebook business manager and set up ads, or having a class on what Google PPC is and how it all works, that infrastructure, because it's not going away. And at the end of the day, those people, I mean, they get picked up as far as jobs go very, very quickly. Their incomes are increasing rapidly because there's so much competition, and it's not going away. So that's definitely something that I would recommend for you guys and for any school is, a lot of the people that we hire, yes, they have a marketing background, but they taught themselves how to do PPC, or they did Google certification class on it. But I think if you guys offered something like that, I think that would be very, very successful for all parties involved.
Right. No, it's really interesting as we think about a digital world and a platform-based world, how fluency in those platforms ends up being unnecessary. That's the equivalent of, the Word and the Microsoft productivity suite 20 years ago. These are the new ways of working.
Right.
You must get, and my guess is probably even more of these since the Forbes thing came out, more entrepreneurs than you can count showing up on your doorstep saying, tell me what it takes. Give me advice. Give me business advice. Give me life advice. When someone does, track you down and get, the cup of coffee, virtual or actual, with you, what are the big pieces of advice you have to people who want to strike out on their own and really build their own business?
Everyone wants to think that they can build their own business and do their own thing, which I always recommend to do, and for people that ask me, advice on it, the best thing is just to start, and it's just to go and jump in. And a lot of times I know there's difficulties in that, right? I don't know everyone's financial situations. I don't know everyone's family situations. I don't know any of that. But my advice to anyone that wants to do their own thing is do it. Go. You can do everything that you possibly can do from a computer, and that's really all you need. You got the internet, you got a computer, you can start a business. You don't need to go get venture funding anymore. You don't need seed rounds, although that's what everyone thinks is success. You still can go and start something without any of that and have your own business. But again, it's not for everyone. And I as much as we always want to promote being an entrepreneur and doing your own thing, I also think there's a lot of benefit in not being an entrepreneur. You don't have the long hours. You only see the great things in entrepreneur. You see Elon Musk and you can see all these people, they can do whatever they want, but that's just their highlight reel. At the end of the day, they have more stress, they have more worries, and they have a lot of problems with it. But for people that actually want to do it, that are willing to risk that, and that they understand that, I think the best advice I can give is start. And the more rejection you get means that you're closer to that yes from someone. So that's my best advice for entrepreneurs.
I think when you look at entrepreneurial journeys, you've accomplished two of the more interesting. People always talk about the entrepreneur piece. I think a number of people have started to call attention to, starting a business is one thing, scaling it is something different. So getting, and you've punched the first ticket and punched the second ticket as well. So maybe it's a version of, as you continue to scale, what are the new challenges or things that even after you had Youtech up and going and it was running along, and then you started to really ramp up and scale, what were the new challenges you encountered, and what sort of challenges do you see going ahead as you continue to grow at a rapid rate?
Yeah, I mean, everyone always paints this picture like the bigger you get, the more resources you have, the easier it gets, right? And that's just not the truth at all. It's actually the complete opposite. So from a scaling perspective, one of the hardest things that we always have is making sure that current internal processes are able to scale, right? You might be doing something that works really well for your team, a team of 10 or a team of 20 people, but will it work for 100 people? I don't know. we got to test it. We need infrastructure to kind of go against that. So from a scaling perspective, there's a lot of things that you gotta watch for. It's the people that you bring into your company to see if your culture is going to shift. It's watching accounting and finances and cash flow. Are you able to scale? Where are you going to be investing? And then from an internal operations side, it's, do we have the capabilities of scaling? We can't just hire 100 people and expect them to know what to do. Is there a process in place for them to follow and scale and be a real, corporation? One thing I can tell you is, I'm not good at those things, and I know it, but I bring in and I hire people that are better than me at those specific things, so that they can ultimately help me build out these processes and build out the finance and all that stuff. And that's where the MBA helps a lot, is you have a general idea of how accounting works. You have a general idea of how finance works and how business works. And honestly, the best thing I've learned is find people that know it better than you and bring them in. So I know I went off on a tangent there, but that's kind of how we've run Youtech, and it's worked out really well.
As you think about, the other interesting thing, having been through the process of scaling a company, one of the things that I was always really worried about was losing the culture as we got bigger. There's something about, when it's, I remember the first time we couldn't fit everyone in a conference room, and I was like, that's crazy. When you think about what elements of the culture you want to make sure, when a company's twice its size, when it's 10 times its size, when you say, even though we'll be bigger and we'll be scalable and we'll have really great processes, these are the cultural things that I want to make sure we protect and keep. What's on that list of, I'm going to make sure we're always thinking about this?
For us at Youtech, and I think the most important is the people. I think the culture needs to be, you put the people first. And I always tell people the number one job that I have as CEO and as the owner of the company is giving them, or the team members and all of the people that work there, the resources to be successful. And I think that mindset is what, carries on from our leadership team. It comes from the top down. We want to be able to help promote from within and help guide people in their careers. And ultimately, if they decide to go somewhere else, that's perfectly fine. But at least we had a step in improving them and getting better, and they helped us a lot. So as far as a culture aspect, we love open communication with the people that we ultimately have, and helping them grow in their careers. And we don't like to sugarcoat anything. We're not going to do a formal write-up that says you did this wrong and blah, blah, blah. We're just going to say, hey, listen, you messed this up, learn from it. Don't we're going to get better, and then we're going to try and get, fix this thing. And it's all kind of, if you're not making mistakes, you're not working hard enough, or you're not moving forward. And so that's our mindset.
Yeah. It's the old Michael Jordan, I miss 100% of the shots I never took, right? I mean, that's a really, and it's funny, having been through the process of scaling, that mindset is really important to preserve, that people have to feel comfortable taking risk, making mistakes, dusting themselves off, and moving forward. I want to make sure, we've gotten a few questions from folks in the chat, and I want to make sure we channel some of those into the conversation. So if you're okay doing that, I'm gonna shift us over to some of the questions that our conversation have sparked. First question is from Nora, who asks, how do you use social media to market your own business? I mean, obviously you do a lot of this on behalf of some great companies, but in a B2B setting, how do you think about using it in your business?
You got to think of what you're ultimately trying to do, right? And you got to know the platforms and what the benefits of using those platforms are. I truly believe that every company, whether you're in manufacturing or you're a direct-to-consumer brand, it does not matter. You should be on social media. But from a manufacturing standpoint, you might be wanting to use it to recruit better engineers, because these young engineers that are graduating, they're going to look at your social media page. They're going to want to know what the culture is like. That's one way to kind of use social media. The other area is if you're a direct-to-consumer brand and you're, Coca-Cola, yeah, you need to be on Instagram, because that's, where your clientele is. But for me, I think to use social media, you first got to know what your purpose is, what your goals are, and then it's a free tool to communicate with your customers. It's something that has never been done before. And we're in today's age where you have direct line to your consumers for free. And I think that's a very, very powerful tool. And I think that's a very, very important tool to utilize to your advantage. And there's obviously so many different things I can go on and on about, but just the quick answer, just know what you're ultimately trying to do, and then using it for that perspective. So like I'll just kind of go in 20 more seconds. On Facebook, right? It's people there that are, families, and, there's never any real intent to buy anything, but they still run a lot of Facebook ads. They still promote on Facebook, but Facebook has catered more towards the profiles and the individual users and companies now. So you have to pay to play. And that's why Facebook's pricing has changed a lot. But if you go on, Reddit, the power of Reddit, or Twitter, it's the purpose of each platform is a lot different. And so you just got to make sure that whatever platform you're ultimately using for, you don't want to post the same thing on Facebook as you do on Twitter. Your audience is different.
Yeah. It's also, just circle back to the point you made before, what a resource, what used to be a massive barrier to entry for a smaller business or a startup, social media is an on-ramp and an amplifier for businesses that 20 years ago would have never had access to that
Right.
reach. So just to circle back to the point you made before, I think not losing sight of that's really critical. John asks, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you?
I don't know. I mean, myself personally, I hope I'm married. I hope I have a family. But as far as from my career-wise goes, I hope to be able to scale and build Youtech to where we ultimately want to go. And at this point, we don't have an exit strategy. I don't have an exit strategy because I never felt that I needed one. When I started this thing, I was 21 years old, and so at that point, I was playing with house's money. We were growing, and now that we've grown to where we are today, I feel as though I'm still playing with house's money. I'm 29 years old, so I'm not looking to sell anytime soon. We've had private equity groups, come out and offer and do all kinds of things. But as of right now, we want to focus on the people that we ultimately have, grow the business, scale it, and see where it can go. And then, we're going to open up a few more locations as well. So that's our plan in the next 5 years.
What do you see? I mean, it's been state the obvious. I'll start with how my day began. I was telling you this earlier that I came downstairs for breakfast, and my father-in-law lives with us. He's 93, and he's wearing a short sleeve shirt. And I said, it's a little cold for that. And he said, today I'm getting my vaccine today. So it was, really good way to start the day. We're not going to be there for a while. Obviously, COVID has changed so much and made the world, anyone who didn't think their business was digital has learned it is. What are the big challenges you see going forward for anyone looking to build a digital business, where if someone is, didn't think they had to be digital, but they need to be now. Every business now is a digital business. Every marketer is now a digital marketer. As you look forward, what are going to be the bigger challenges in the world where everyone now is using this tool set, trying to build a digital presence?
I think some of the challenges, truthfully, if it's an entrepreneur asking, what are some of the challenges ahead of them, I don't know how to gauge that. If you're an entrepreneur, you should know that there are going to be challenges every single day that comes to you. But from my point of view, the biggest challenges of what I see in today's market for like a digital business is that everyone feels as though they are able to do it, right? And they're able to create an agency, or they have a Facebook page, so they put on their resume, they know how to manage Facebook. But at the end of the day, I think with everything kind of shifting in motion to more of a media type company for every business, I think that's where a challenge is going to be for us, even. For companies. I truly believe that there are tools out there. If you're a corporate company, and let's just say that you're Coca-Cola, right? And you're Coca-Cola, you should be you should have a media department. and whether you're Coca-Cola or you're a HVAC company down the street that does, you know, a couple $1 million a year, you should be your own media company. You have the tools on social media, for podcasts, for YouTube, to do everything that a media broadcasting company can do. And you can do it all. It might cost you a few $1,000s for all the equipment, but you can literally do it all from your room. And I think that's where everything's going to be shifting to. And I truly believe that's where everything is going. And every company is going to have a media type background where, you know, every company now has HR. There's going to be a media side to every company moving forward, because that's just how it's going to be, you know, in the next even 3, 4, 5 years.
Very cool. All right. Well, I think that idea that every company is going to be a media company is a great place to end, and a powerful insight for would-be entrepreneurs, people thinking about, you know, where they want to direct their career, and even our existing DeVry students who are trying to figure out what skill sets they want to start to agglomerate. That's a wonderful North Star to end on. This has been great. First and foremost, thank you for sharing your time, sharing your advice, sharing your experience. It's been incredibly insightful. We covered a lot of great stuff, and I know it's hugely valuable to the audience. Thanks to everyone in the audience for dialing in. You can follow both Wilbur and I on LinkedIn and in other platforms as well. And we are going to keep doing digital dialogues like this to keep working with some of the leading minds in shaping the digital economy and understanding how that affects the future of work. So thanks for joining. I hope everyone has a great rest of the day. And Wilbur, great to see you.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.